Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Brick and Modem Resale podcast. I am one of your hosts, Trevor, aka Retro Rewinder, and this is also
Jake,
aka
Jake.
Today we have our main topic is going to be our craziest sourcing stories that we've ever had. We also have some updates of some purchases we've made recently, our finds of the week, or find of the month, I should say. But it's been like a month and a half since we've talked. We're also going to talk about some underwear and some kitchen utensils today, so it's going to be very riveting. So today is February 24th, and we are trying to film one of these once every month. This is definitely a little later in the month, but we still got it in the month. So most of our talk will be January, but like the thing that I bought is in February. So I'm sure a lot of your stuff is February too, Jake. So what's been going on with life? Anything new?
Well, I just finished up a college class. I've got 4 more left. That's it. So mid-August, I'm done. Maybe we can do more podcasts. I don't know. but yeah, I've got that going on. I mean, that takes up the majority of my time. So that, which affects my sales online and in my store as well. But yeah, that's what I've got going on. That's kind of the main focus still. But it's a good focus.
Yep. So I've had a ton of stuff going on. One of the exciting things is I recently I dropped Fridays from my work. So I'm only working a 4-day work week, and on that 5th day, I'm using that as an eBay day. Last week, I kind of did half at home doing sales, and the other half I went over to a local town and hit up some thrift stores. This Friday, I'm probably going to do mostly sourcing because I'd like to do kind of every other. 1 week stay home and just completely list, the other week go out. But I've got the thrifting bug, so I probably am going to go out this time. We're also painting our house, so this is our 4th room that we've done. So we almost finished our living room. We ran out of paint, so we have to do one wall left in our living room.
Okay.
But yeah, that's about all that's been going on, and work is always just crazy with COVID. It's just been nuts. So do you want to update any sales or anything that we talked about like from the last podcast?
I don't know really. I've just had a couple things sell online for me, but a couple bites on some larger items, but low ball offers that I'm just not interested in.
Sure. And for everybody that's either watching for the first time or needs a reminder, a lot of Jake's sales come from a physical location that he has. It's kind of like a flea market, kind of like a antique store combination type place. So a lot of Jake's business is actually done in a physical location. So when he's talking about his online sales, that's not the bulk of what he's been selling. So just kind of keep that in mind. Whereas me, almost 100% of my sales are coming from eBay.
Right.
So one of the things I mentioned last podcast, I think it was my find of the month, was that Averex leather jacket that I mentioned. That did sell, so that was pretty cool. I think it went to like a different country too. I had bunches of people from like England and somewhere else over in Europe message me like wanting that jacket. One guy actually asked me, he's like, "So what size is this? Will it fit like?" I think whatever he said, he was shorter than I was. And I was like, no, this is like a 5XL. Like it's big on me. And he's like, oh yeah. So it sold for $200. So that was pretty sweet. So in the month of January, I actually had been staying on pretty much pace. I sold about $5,000. That's gross of all my sales. I had a hard time finding the number of actual items, but the dollar amount was right at 5,000. I think it was like $5,025 or something. So Jake said he may not be able to share some of his numbers. Can you give us maybe a little bit of an idea of how well the booth did this past month?
Yeah, we did over a couple grand in the booth. I can't remember. I don't want to say it, but I can't remember the exact amount. But it's one of the better months that we've had. The last 2 months actually have been super strong. And this month has started off, pretty strong as well, but it's really slowed down. The last 2 days, we haven't sold anything. Nothing sold out there. But that's not really uncommon. I mean, we may sell $5-10, during the week. Weeks are slow. Main bulk of our business seems to come Friday to Sunday. People are off, they're wanting to shop, whatever. So, and the weather might have kept some people away. We got a lot of snow in our area
That's
last
very
week.
true.
So,
It's just now starting to melt around here. I was
yeah.
super excited when I could drive home with the windows down the other day.
Today was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, today and yesterday was really good as well. So Jake, before we actually jump into our main topic, I got to ask you about an Instagram post that you had about a little bit of ripping off that happened to you. Can you talk
Oh,
about that?
sure. I'd love to. So, me and my partner John, that we run our booth together. It's Hole in the Wall Games is what we call it. If you're new to the podcast, you can find us on Facebook if you want to check us out. Just Hole in the Wall Games. But we're always sourcing inventory, and right now, getting any kind of video game inventory at a reasonable price is proving to be quite difficult. So John was on Instagram, and this, I don't know how, and John maybe in a future episode can speak more about it, but he found or was contacted by this gentleman from like New Jersey area who sent him a whole bunch of pictures of games like PS2 stuff, some Switch stuff, GameCube stuff, that kind of thing, a little mix of newer to older stuff, and was wanting, to sell it to us. So John and him and I kind of worked out what we were wanting to do price wise. John did all the talking. I was just like the other guy in the situation. And we determined that we would do a certain price. Um, we were a little bit leery because we don't know the man. It's kind of one of those things online. So John paid half the money, and the guy was going to ship it. And John wanted some references. That guy wanted some references. They wanted to make sure they know each other. So John gave some references. Well, he took John's reference list and started blasting out to all those people the same exact items that he sold us.
Oh, jeez.
So, that's a little shady, right? You can't sell the same game twice unless you got a whole box of them, which that's not typical for older games. So some of those other people ended up paying. Well, John found out that guy was doing that, blasted all those people and said, don't buy from him. He's trying to sell the same stuff. Well, he told me, I think we got taken for our money, and that ticks me off. We worked
I'm
hard for
sure.
this money, and, my law enforcement background stuff kind of makes me upset more too. So I posted something on Instagram like, don't buy from this guy, something's wrong. Well, he commented like fake news or whatever, but I guess
So,
the whole end of the story here is either he's just really not very intelligent and doesn't realize you can't sell the same game to just one person, or he's really trying to scam. But he has said that he's going to refund the money Friday. So stay tuned for the next podcast. We'll tell you
so,
what ends up happening.
so you may get your money back. Should I assume that you paid with the friends and family to
It was
avoid the?
Venmo.
Okay, I'm
So
not familiar with it.
you're totally screwed on Venmo. They
Oh,
don't care. Your money's gone. So,
yeah. I think I've only used PayPal, and then like I used one other thing one time to pay somebody, and I don't remember what it was, but I'm almost always use PayPal.
yeah. We wanted to use PayPal, but he didn't have it.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Yeah. So the thing that kind of confused me about your post is I saw the picture, but it wasn't the same name as the guy that was commenting. So is it the same guy with like different accounts or?
No, that picture I put on there was from his account, but yeah, that caught me too. His username and then his name were different. And as soon as I posted that, he went from a public account to a private account
Oh,
almost
jeez.
immediately. And some of the people he kind of hosed over to there found him on Facebook and started messaging him on Facebook.
Oh,
So he took his Facebook down. He's upset that everybody's giving him a hard time, and he's just a good guy. And it's like, Okay.
It's kind of what you get for scamming people.
Yeah.
People don't take that very lightly, and they'll find your real persona pretty quickly. It's not that hard.
Well, when he was public on Facebook, John was able to screenshot some of his posts, and one of them was a gas receipt with the partial credit card number and the
Oh.
address to the gas station with a date and time stamp. So I'm just gonna put this out there. If it's a scam, that's going to the police. I'm gonna mark it down as a scam. Hey, investigate it. Maybe something happens, maybe not. But you know
Right.
what? We gotta try.
Yeah.
So we
It
just want
wasn't
our money back.
I'm assuming if he sent you a bunch of pictures, it was probably a pretty significant investment.
Yeah, it was. It
That
was.
stinks.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hopefully that you get your money back.
yeah. Luckily,
Hope,
we paid half up front. Because
sure.
you can pay the other half when you get it. I'm a trustworthy guy. Well, you
Yeah.
trust me to pay the other half when I get it too? But we would. But
Yeah.
yeah, just it kind of. I'm not sold that we'll get our
Yeah.
money back.
Well, either way, lesson learned, right?
Oh yeah, we're not hurting that bad. We can take a risk every once in a while. Yeah, losing money sucks, but at the end of the day, we're still positive. So,
Yeah.
whatever is what it is. Cost of doing business, I guess you can call it.
Yeah. Well, Jake, are you ready to jump into our main
Sure.
topic here?
Yeah.
So I did mention our main topic is going to be kind of our weirdest or craziest sourcing stories. And I would assume that if you're listening to a podcast about reselling, you understand what sourcing is. We did use that term, but sourcing just means that you're going to find product, whether that be you can source online, you can source retail arbitrage, which is just going to a physical store, buying an item to resell it. Normally, like retail arbitrage refers to like Walmart's, Target's,
Mhm.
Myers, and then thrifting is sourcing as well. So these are going to be some of our craziest sourcing stories. And I have two kind of loaded up. Jake, do you have two as well, or do you have more?
Well, I've got the one from recently, the one I texted you about that we
Okay.
started the podcast with. That's kind of a strange one, and
Yes, it
just some
is.
garage sale and like a Goodwill, just like more not so much strange source, but strange things I purchased from sources.
Okay. Well,
So
it
I'll
sounds like
twist it
you
a
at
little. You
least
can go ahead.
Well, it sounds like you at least have three, and I only have two. So why don't you go ahead and start? You can do yours first, and then I'll go second.
All right. Let's start with one from a garage sale. Now everybody knows about garage sales. You can get some good deals there, some new stuff, used stuff, whatever. And I like to garage sale, usually Saturday if I can get there, or maybe squeeze a Friday in there every once in a while. Well, last year I was at a garage sale. I think it was an estate sale kind of type garage sale where someone had passed away or moved away or something. And they didn't really have a whole lot of good stuff, but I was walking around and on the table they had this rather large, like a 2-gallon size clear bag of hacky sacks. Yeah, like
Hacky
hacky sacks.
sacks.
I said, "How much for these hacky sacks?" Kid's like, "I don't know. Make me an offer." Okay, $2. Okay, I got 98 hacky sacks for $2. A stupid. I don't know why I did. It took me a year to sell them all, and I think I made like $200 on the deal though, so it wasn't
So
horrible.
it was worth it.
Yeah, it's just like everybody's like, "You bought what? Hacky sacks?" I'm like, yeah, it's kind of weird, but it's something cheap in your store that if someone comes by and looks, it's not everything in your store has to be $200. You can have some cheap stuff in there just to round out your inventory. It was kind of fun, I guess, but it was a lot of work for individual sales.
When I also know some of your history and the story you're going to talk about. You like to have bulk items where you have a lot. I remember the days of the Alibaba when we worked at the jail.
Oh
Like, so
yeah,
I know that you like to have a lot of the same item, which I mean, that's great because you make one listing and you just
yeah.
kind of sell them whenever. So I do want to interrupt on something real quick. If you see me get up and run, I have a bat that lives in my basement somewhere. So he's kind of been freaking me out. So every time I hear like a noise, I'm kind of like weary if it's the bat flying around. According to Indiana law, you cannot remove a bat from an unfinished area of a house unless it's 55 degrees at nighttime 3 days in a row because they have to release them into the wild. So the bat expert would not come to my house to remove this bat because he cannot release it. Now, if it was in like our upstairs area, that changes the rules and they're allowed to do that.
Open
So
your door.
yeah, well, I do like I've only seen him physically twice, and once was like 2 months ago. But the other night we heard this like squealing noise, and we thought it was like a colony of mice in the wall. So I went down to the basement. This is like 2 o'clock in the morning. I went down to the basement and I started like shining the flashlight around under our crawl space, which is under our bedroom, and the noise stopped. So well, that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why did the noise stop? And all of a sudden, this bat is freaking flying at my face. So I just like booked it upstairs, and slammed the door behind me. I'm kind of a big chicken when it comes to stuff like that. So just so you know, if I take off, it's because that stupid bat in my house. So is there anything else on the hacky sack story?
Nah, just one of my coworkers. I'd always tell her, "Hey, I sold a hacky sack." She just couldn't believe I bought them. I don't know. People think you just don't know what people think, when you buy stuff.
So what I have found is in the world of reselling, people that you talk to about reselling that do not resell think everything's like crazy. And sometimes I do too. Like the used shoe market, like it blows my mind how people will buy used shoes on eBay. I sell used shoes all the time, like pretty rough ones too. It's like, I would not stick my feet in somebody else's shoes that I don't know. Like but people they're like, you sold what for how much money? I get that all the time. Like Amanda's like all the time is like, who would buy that for that price? So I totally get like your coworker just like, why did you buy them, and who is buying them from you?
Yeah.
Like, were these like the nice hacky sack? Like
they were like made in like Honduras or Guatemala or something. They were legit.
Yeah.
But I don't know where they originally came from, and I don't think they were vintage.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was like the cheap hacky sacks where it's like a canvas all the way around, or if it's more of the knitted.
It looked like a knitted with the like beans or something in it. Batman.
I think it's my cat.
Oh, maybe your cat will kill the bat and then you're off the hook.
Well, normally my cat will come down to the basement when I don't realize it, and I'll lock him in here, so we hear him like making that meow noise, but I shut the door before I came down, so I don't know if he's just hearing me talking upstairs and meowing at me.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and start with my first one. So if you've been following my YouTube channel, I definitely talked about this because this whole story is just, in my opinion, super crazy. So there's a town called Lafayette, or city, however you want to look at it, that I go to once every couple months maybe. It's a little bit of a drive. When I'm up there, they have a couple video game stores. I don't know if they're still in business, but one of them is Game Exchange, I think is what it's called. Do you know if that's right, Jake?
In Lafayette?
The Exchange. Yeah,
I think they have one up there.
Yeah, it's like more of a big retailer, kind of like the disc replays around here. I know they have a couple of them, but I never find good deals at them. I'm in there for like 5 minutes and I end up leaving. Well, this particular day, I stopped into the Exchange or Game Exchange, whatever it was, and I was in there for like 5 minutes, didn't find anything. And as I'm leaving, there's this guy carrying video game stuff in. And whenever I see that, I'm always kind of like, I should just try to buy it from him right out of the parking lot. But I also don't want to rub the businesses the wrong way by doing that. So I just let him go in and kind of kicked myself for not at least trying. But as I'm sitting in my car, like 5 minutes later, I kind of waited to see if he'd come back out with the stuff. He comes back out with the games he had. I was like, did they offer you too little, or what's going on? Why didn't they buy the stuff you brought in? He's like, well, they told me they're broke. I'm like, what do you have? So he pulls out some NES games, and I should have looked it up before, but I think it was like Narc. No, is that it had like 4 letters, an acronym, and it was I forget which one it was. It was like a $60 game though.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact game, but he said, well, they said this one's broke. I was like, well, let me look at it. I was like, how can you not test it and say it's broke? And he said that the pins were missing. So the cashier said that because the pins were missing, it wasn't going to work. Well, if you've ever looked at NES games, not all the pins are on every NES game.
Right.
Like they have strategically, I don't know the reasoning, but some of them have them missing in certain pin spots. I was like, well, I'm fairly sure that game's not broken, so I'll buy it off of you. And I think I gave him like $15 or something, $20, because I said, they did tell you it was broke, so I'm gonna buy it like it's broken too. But I'll pay you for it. They wouldn't even give him anything for it.
Mm.
So talking to this guy, he tells me that at his grandmother's house, he has more games, and that he'd be willing to sell them. So at that point, I'm like, let's go to grandma's house. Like, and he's kind of weird. Like, he doesn't really want me to go to his grandmother's house. But I was kind of pushy about it. Once I get kind of bad about that, when I find out somebody has something that I want to try to buy, I get kind of proddy, and especially like people I know at work, they'll tell me like, oh, I've got some like 64 games. So every other day I'm like, hey, did you pull those games out of your attic? So that's basically what I did with this guy. I just kept kind of pushing him, and finally he's like, yeah, come on over. So this is when it got really weird. We show up at grandma's house, which she lives in a Hispanic part of Lafayette. So on each side of her, like there's no alley. It's one of those like areas where the houses are right next to each other, and there's just like Hispanic music blaring on both sides of her. So I walk in, it smells like cat pee so bad, like it's hurting my eyes when I walk in, and the grandma like is sitting in a recliner in a nightgown. This is like
yummy.
the middle of the day. This is the middle of the day. She's like watching, The Price is Right or reruns of Jeopardy or something. It was a game show. And she was like, are you here to mow my yard? I was like, what? She's like, yeah, my lazy grandson won't mow the yard. This is the grandson that has brought me to the house. It turns out that he lives with his grandma, and his dad had passed away, which was unfortunate. But she's just like ripping him about how he's lazy and he won't mow the yard. And he's like, I've got allergies. But anyway, so she's asking me to mow the yard. And I was like, no, I'm just here to buy some video game stuff. So he brings me into this room, and it's just knives. Like his dad apparently had like a knife collection. And I'm kicking myself now because at the time I didn't have a lot of disposable income. I was definitely more picky about what I bought. I probably would have just offered, hey, anything you're selling, I'll just buy all of it. But I didn't. So we kind of like go past the knives, and we find all the video game stuff. And, I end up spending like $200. I forget what it was. And I did get a lot of good stuff. But the weird part was just how the grandma treated me. So as I'm getting ready to leave, the grandma again is trying to get me to mow her yard and offers to pay me like $10 to mow her yard or something. But then she says, make sure you take him out to the garage. It's like, what's in the garage? And she's like, I'm selling tools. I was like, I don't really deal with tools. Like, I'm just here for video games. And she kept pressing me to go out to the garage to look at these tools. So finally, like, I loaded all the stuff into the car. And I told the guy, who I'm friends with him on Facebook now. I've never talked to him, but like after that exchange, I was like just friended him. So I was like, just take me out to the garage. I'll see what grandma has out there. So we walk out there, and there's like one of those tiered toolboxes that's probably like 7 or 8 drawers. And I was like, so this is what you're selling? She's like, yeah, the whole toolbox we're trying to get rid of. I was like, I don't have any room for a toolbox. But I start opening drawers, and I see these like really long wrenches, like that would not be anything that I would ever think, well, how would I use this? So I'm pretty sure it was like a car, like made for a car, like a torque wrench or something. It says Snap-on on it. I was like, well, I know Snap-on brand. So I was like, well, how much does she want for the tools? He's like, I have no idea. So I basically found all the drawers that had Snap-on, and I offered to buy those drawers, so all the contents in those drawers. I think I paid, I don't know, I can't even tell you what I paid for it. But those tools alone paid for all the video games that I left with from that house. And again, it's kind of one of those things where I'm kind of kicking myself now because I really should have just said, hey, I'll give you $50 for the whole toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have the money or the place to put a giant toolbox. So that was definitely one of my craziest experiences, just because like this was a random encounter at a video game store that led to this weird interactions with grandma in nightgown trying to get me to mow her yard. So definitely one of my weirdest and most memorable sourcing stories.
That's going to be a hard one to top. That's pretty strange.
It is very, very strange. I should message the guy and just like
He's
follow
got
up. Hey, you got anything else you're selling? If you don't remember, I met you like 3 years ago. Yeah,
Tell
because
your grandma I'll mow her yard if she gives
yeah,
it to me.
yeah, he posts kind of weird stuff on Facebook. So I've thought about, I don't know why I haven't just deleted him, but I haven't. So let's hear
Well,
your next one, Jake.
well, that kind of changes on one of the things I wanted to say, but like talking about strange encounters or whatever, I know I've gone on several what can at face value are sketchy pickups, and we've all done. If you've bought and sold from anything online, you in person like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or Let Go or whatever it is now, that offer up or whatever, bought it, I don't know. If you ever did any of those, there's some sketchy uh there's some sketchy pickups in there. And I know one was a PS3 several years ago, and I mean it was in like a really bad neighborhood. I mean it was so bad I was like texting people, "Hey, I'm going to this address. This is a screenshot of the guy's, Facebook page. Here's our conversation. Um, okay, hey, I have arrived. If I don't check in with you in 20 minutes, call me. If I don't answer, send the cops." Like some
Yeah,
strange stuff. And every time that it's been that way, the person has ended up being super, super cool. Like the
yeah,
real sketchy PS3 guy, because everything was like dirt ball cheap. I mean, I'm talking like complete system with a bunch of games, cheap. I don't remember how much. I just know it's cheap. Well, he had he was an MMA fighter, super nice guy, and he's like, I just need my medicine. He's got some kind of heart condition,
oh gee,
and he didn't have the money to buy his medicine. That's why he sold everything cheap. I was like, well, I'd be glad to help you help you out. And he said, all right, and he left and went and got his medication. I mean, this is some serious stuff, right? And then there's another guy more recently that I met in Brownsburg, which is just south of us.
that's
And
where I go garage selling. That's
yeah,
my garage sale spot.
yeah, there's some good ones there. It's untapped.
Yeah,
And that's where our store is located.
yes, it is.
And you've been told you're looking for video games, go to Hole in the Wall Games. That's
I
hilarious. But this other guy, I wanted to buy a Switch Lite. The price was reasonable. It came with a game. It came with a box, and his name was like Lord Keys or something, Keysy or something like that. And he had that traditional, weird, strange Facebook thing. I don't know. It was kind of bad. I was like, if my mom knew I was going to this, she probably not approve. You pass the mom test. It didn't
Yeah,
pass the mom test, but I let some people I work with know where I was going, and they're like, "Do you need us to go with you? What's going on?" And he showed up, blaring his loud music in his car, and rattling and all that. He jumps out of the car. Couldn't have been the nicer of a guy ever. I mean, he was the nicest guy ever, and he said he had like Apple Watches and all this other crap. And I said, well, my buddy John might want some Apple Watches because he was talking about it. So we connected with him like 4 or 5 times, and we bought, I don't even know how much money we gave this man. We bought a ton of loose switch games. I think we bought 12
I'm gonna
Apple
interrupt real quick,
Watches.
Jake. I think my cat did sneak down here. I'm gonna let him out.
Okay. Probably stuck at the door. I like how Trevor's so tall and he has to hunch over in his basement. It's hilarious. Don't hit your head.
I don't know how he got down here.
That's a cat.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so
you,
we bought
you
all
connected
this
with him
stuff.
with about Apple Watches.
Yeah, we bought all his Apple Watches, and the ones that were locked or whatever, you can lock them. We sold those all like a real cheap or in a bundle or whatever. But a lot of them that were unlockable, we formatted. We just made a killing. And Switch games, like brand new Switch games. We're like, where are you getting this stuff? He has a friend at one of those pallet places, and he said he kind of had the inside scoop on it, and the guy would say like, "Hey, we got some good ones, come get them." And it was like Target returns and whatever. So someone would bring a video game back, or they would buy an Apple Watch and not want it, or whatever. But we need to get in contact with that guy again, see if he's got anything else. But
Yeah,
that it's one of those weird sourcing stories where you meet somebody and it's shady on the surface, but then they end up being super cool and you make a good connection. You can't be afraid. Well, you can be afraid, but you got to have some risk. There's some risk involved. So
sure.
you got to be safe.
There's definitely been a few pickups where like I did not tell my wife that I was going to get them. It's like I'll tell her after I get them. Um, but one of the things I wanted to mention was like you hear a lot of these YouTubers that are like, my guy, Lonnie on Shed Flips, he's got his guy, and I know like Cincinnati Picker has his guy.
Mhm.
Where's our guy? Like, I need somebody that just constantly brings me inventory. Like, because I've made a few connections, but they never last more than, 2 or 3 times. Like, there was
Yeah,
a guy in
right.
Lebanon that, he was like racing me to all the garage sales. That's why I left Lebanon because I got tired of like, he got mad at me because he would literally like race me. He'd run out to his car and like race off, and I just went a different way. And he eventually like caught back up with me, but I was looking at a bundle of Nintendo stuff, and he yelled at the person like, "Don't sell it to him very cheap. That stuff's worth a lot of money." I was like, I don't know what his problem is. I was like, I'll just start going to Brownsburg. But that guy ended up getting in contact with me on Facebook, and he said that he got banned from selling on eBay. So he went and like garage sold in Lebanon, and then would just sell me the stuff for where I could make money. But I think I made like 4 or 5 pickups from him, and then just never heard from him again.
Yeah.
So your how you started that one off reminded me of one that I wanted to mention. I don't know if I've ever talked about this one. I may have done it, but it was fairly recently. It was this past summer. I was garage sailing around Rockville Road, um, the Rockville Road closer to I-465. So it's like not a great area. And there was this garage sale where there was this like older guy sitting out. Basically, you could tell he had garage sales all the time. Like every weekend, just the way he had everything laid out, this was like a flea market at somebody's house, basically. The stuff was in really bad shape. And I was like, do you have any video games? And he's like, well, my son might have some. Let me ask him. So he goes inside and he asks his son if he has any video games he wants to sell. And he comes out and the guy's like, yeah, he said he's got an Xbox. I was like, okay. And he's like, so how much do you want to give for it? I was like, I have no idea. Like, I haven't seen the Xbox. I don't know if it's an Xbox, a 360, an Xbox One. I have no idea. So I tell him, I was like, I really have to look at it to like be able to offer you anything. He's like, okay, come on inside. And I was like, I don't know. He's like, and everything in the house is for sale. I'm like everything. He's like, yeah, if you see it, you can make an offer on it. So I walk into the house and there's like racks of clothes. There's stuff like bike parts in the living room, like just the living room's trash. There's bike parts and like tubs. Like he literally buys anything he can and just rips it apart and sells the parts from it. So on the kitchen table, I found like these ping pong paddles that were brand new. I was like, I'd buy these. And he's like, $5. I was like, okay, I'll give you $5 for them. So he's going to like the back room to talk to his son, and he's coming out and he's like trying to tell me what the son wants. And I was like, I really have to look at him. So finally, he's like, let me just go get him. The son comes out. He is like tatted up head to toe. He's in a gang, like 100%. He's in a
Mm.
gang. He's limping really bad. He's got pants on, but no shirt. And he finally comes out. He's like talking to his girlfriend or something on the phone and trying to talk to me. And he's like, yeah, just let me rip all this stuff out. And he like brings me Xbox One games with like some 360 mixed in. But then he did like, I think he had a 360 system, but he had Xbox One games. And I was like, I don't like, how much do you want for this? And I forget what he told me, but I was like, I can't pay that much for them. Like they're scratched up. I'm going to have to get them resurfaced. So he finally agrees on a price. And then like I pay him and he's like, come on, just give me like 20 bucks more. I'm like, I told you I can't do that. Like, so during this exchange, I'm like, are you all right? Cause he's limping around. He's like, yeah, I just got shot last weekend. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you may have seen it on the news. My girlfriend died. They got shot up in a gang shooting in Indianapolis. I could not get out of that house any faster. I was
Here's
like, just
$50.
yeah, I
Bye.
was like, I just gave him some money and I just booked it out of there. Like it was freaking me out. Like I don't think I ever told Amanda that. I just like kind of put it away. But you reminded me of it when you're talking about going garage selling or going to pick up at the not nice part of town.
Yeah, it can be sketch for sure.
Yeah. Well, I've got one more. Do you have any more?
Um, well, I've got my um maybe my best find for the month. It's kind of strange, but
I
I'll
have
let
a
you
lot
tell
of
you.
questions about it. So why
Okay,
don't you let me go
great.
first? Because
Okay.
mine won't take as long. And you may have remembered this story of mine. So there was a garage sale in Brownsburg that was listed on, I think it was Craigslist at the time, and it just said video games, all video games.
Mhm.
I'm like, the whole garage sale can't just be video games. So I drive out there. It's out in the country. Like I have to drive on this winding road, and I get there probably an hour after the garage sale started. And as I'm walking up, there's a guy leaving the garage sale with two bags, like Walmart sacks full of video games. He's like, "Oh, you know you're gonna love it in there." I was like, "Well, you bought everything." Like he's like, "Oh no, I did not." He's like, "I couldn't afford to buy everything in there." I walk into this garage and it's table after table after table of video games. That's all it is. I could not believe it. They had those spindles where like you would buy blank discs to burn
Mhm.
CDs. They had spindles of loose games.
Mm.
Tron was in there. Um, like RPGs, just
Good
like
ones.
yeah. I was like everything else had okay prices, like pretty competitive. I was like, well, how much for these spindles? And she was like, I don't know, like 15 bucks for the whole spindle. I was like,
Sold.
sure. So I bought two of those, and it's just loaded up with RPGs. I think Tron at the time was like an $80 game or something. I don't remember what it's going for now, but I couldn't believe it. By the time I left the garage sale, I had to go to the bank and purchase or not purchase. I had to pull out more money. Again, this was at a time where I didn't have like a credit card and I couldn't just like pull out infinite money. So I think I spent like $300 or 200, I don't remember. But I couldn't buy everything. I just had to like leave and come back. During that time, nobody else came to the garage sale, which
Oh, you
that
got
was the
lucky.
crazy part. Like I was there all alone and it was listed on Craigslist as video games. So the part besides it being an amazing garage sale, the part that makes it really weird is after talking with the lady, she basically said that this person that owned these video games had died suddenly. He had no family. Like she was just like a friend of his, and she was like kind of had to take all of his possessions
Mhm.
because there was nobody else to do it. So she had like a friend that worked at GameStop that came in and kind of told her, um, this is more valuable, price it. So they kind of priced everything out. So it was just like this real Like I was super excited to get all the stuff, but it was a little like sombering at the same time. I felt very uneasy about it. Then it gets a little worse because I asked if they had anything that wasn't out, and she said that there was a stack of video games that the person from GameStop kind of said, "Hey, this is stuff that you shouldn't just sell in a garage sale." I was like, "Was there any way I can see it?" She's like, "Sure." So she goes and she brings this stack out, and I don't remember all the games that were there, but there was a Rule of Rose, which
Mhm.
is a horror game, which is even more creepy because this dead guy's video games. So I said, "So is there any way you would sell this?" She's like, "You've bought a lot off of me, so I would sell it, but you have to promise you will not sell it." I was like, at the time, I was heavy into collecting. So I was like, this is going straight into my collection. So I bought Rule of Rose for $60, mint condition.
Wow.
I sold it like last year. I felt horrible on, and the whole time I'm thinking this guy is going to come back and haunt me because I've
He's
made
the
a
bat.
promise. Yeah, that it's the bat, it's the guy. I
That's
never
the guy.
because I sold Rule of Rose. He's flying around my house now. Oh my. So I did sell it. I sold it last year. I was getting rid of a bunch of video game stuff. I was thinning out the collection, and I'm pretty sure I got like $300 for it or something crazy. I couldn't believe how much it was going for. At the
Mhm.
time, it was only going for about like 150 when I bought it. Still a great deal at $60. But that was just one of the weirdest things because so much stuff piled on. There was nobody there, but it was listed. Like that should have been a garage sale that people were there like an hour early.
I've
Just
got. I had that garage sale. What, 2 or 3 years ago? Me and John, and it
yeah,
was at my. We did it one weekend at his house, and like nobody showed up barely, and we did it 2 weekends at my house, and like it didn't draw the crowd we thought it would. I think people think when you say that things are going to be A, too expensive, or
yeah,
B, oh, by the time I get there, everything will be gone.
right.
I
And
mean,
I thought that too when I was going
yeah,
to it. I
it's
was like, well, I'm not
natural.
going to be able to get anything.
I mean, we sold in 2 weekends at my house, we sold like almost, what, 4,000 something dollars? And it didn't
Oh,
even look like anything had come out of the garage.
oh my
It was
gosh.
just crazy how much stuff we had. And that's why we started our store. And that, I guess that can segue into a bonus uh, source of finding things. John and I dumpster dive during nice weather. We don't go to food dumpsters. We go to technology places, bookstores. That we go to that kind of stuff. We're
Sure.
more specific on what we're looking for, and that's kind of why we had our garage sale. Not only did we get rid of some of our own personal things, but one of the Game Stops on 86th Street in Indianapolis went out of business, or not GameStop, Disc Replay
Hmm.
went out of it. They just closed. They closed for a whole week. We hit their dumpster, and I have a Dodge Ram pickup truck with an 8-foot bed. We filled the back of that thing up with trash bags out of that dumpster, like 22 trash bags, I think, in total, full of systems and games and TV mounts and Bose wireless speaker, just anything they had in the store. They threw away tons and tons of stuff. And that kind of like jump started our garage sale and our booth with inventory. I mean, I don't know why they threw it away, but I'm glad they did.
Especially since there's other disc replays that you think you could be like, hey, you want to buy this? Like, get some of your money back instead of just throwing it away. But
Everything's a penny a piece. I mean,
yeah,
something. At that point, I don't
right.
know if they had to get out because of their lease or what, but I mean, they threw bags and bags of stuff away. Loose discs, complete stuff, Nintendo stuff, Game Boys. I mean, just like you name it. Just a little. I think there was a Daikatana for 64 in there. I ended up keeping that. That's a pretty salty game,
Yeah.
all things considered. So, I guess that's kind of a bonus. A bonus source. Dumpsters. It's not like, there's decaying food in all dumpsters and trash. Some of those places throw away good stuff. They can't sell it. They just throw it away. But
I've only done it a couple times, and I don't know. I get so nervous. Like I hear a car coming, and I'm like, I gotta get it out of here. Like I know one time back when we had a Radio Shack in town, me and a friend, we dumpster dived, and their dumpster back when it was the old. I don't even think the new Walmart had been built, so it was like in the same strip as Walmart.
yeah,
I just remember being so nervous that somebody's going to catch us back there, and we got like a bunch of like Nokia phone cases or something. Like it wasn't even worth dumpster diving at the time. We were like, oh, all this free stuff, and I'm sure we threw it in a dumpster at some point because what were we going to do with it? I wasn't selling on eBay back then.
yeah. Yeah, you never know what you're going to find. We found 3DSs complete in a box with a busted screen.
Yeah.
$10 on eBay and an afternoon or evening to fix it. But one of the weird things that we'll segue into into my latest bulk purchase, which has raised a lot of eyebrows from friends and family. They're like,
I told Amanda about it, and she definitely raised some eyebrows too.
it's like, you did what? Okay, so I won't say my source, but I went in. It was a retail location. They had got in a supply of jockey underwear, men, women, bras, the whole thing. And they were selling them for real cheap price, good price. And I'm like going through and picking out stuff that looked good. It's all brand new stuff. None of it is used. None of it was bad or whatever. It was all new stuff. So I'm like, wow, I'm picking out, and I go to the register with like a good pile of miscellaneous things that I think I looked them up. I was like, man, I can make pretty good money. And the lady's ringing it up. She goes, wow, you got a lot. There was a guy in here the other day, and he bought like $400 or $500 worth of stuff. I was like, well, why don't you just sell me all of it? I'll buy it all. I'll buy all your inventory out. And I'm talking like 1,400 pieces is what I think 13 something, 14, because I told you about it.
Yeah.
And I ended up counting it. It was like 1,400 pieces of underwear, all different sizes, all different styles, men, women. I think I ended up with like almost 300 bras. I'm like, oh my gosh. And some of them retail for like $60 a piece.
Yeah.
So
bras are good money.
I was married for like 10 years, and I remember having to buy them things. They're not cheap. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to try it. The initial investment was so low. I think it ended up somewhere around the 40 cent mark is what I'm into each piece for. And I took, since I don't know a whole lot about all this stuff. It's kind of new, but you take the risk, you get a possible reward. I might make $4,000 on the deal. I don't know. Maybe more, maybe less. I don't know. I'm about $200 away from my initial investment already, and I haven't sold any of it on eBay.
Really?
I took, John and I bought a pallet, and we talked about that last episode, and had a whole bunch of clothes in it. And we don't know what the heck to do with like maternity shirts and all this weird crap. That's more specific to somebody, style. Underwear, everybody's got underwear on. Most everybody's got underwear on. I'm wearing underwear. Are you? Anyway.
I am.
Oh boy. So that's something.
Though. I can't afford that stuff.
Oh god, that's like the mid-range. But we bought all these shirts, so we took them to two different places in Indianapolis. Noblesville and Carmel area, and we sold them off. And like this one place we went to, I got the check right here. It's called Simply Chic. We'll do a little shout out for them. Hazel Dell Crossing in Noblesville. Go see those ladies. They're really nice. But we sold a whole bunch of stuff to them, and like almost $3 a piece. And we're like, man, we couldn't sell this for $1 a piece. What the heck? So I took my whole tub of bras, like turn it sideways to go through the door. It weighed a ton. I took it in there, and I called ahead of time to make sure they would take that stuff. And they said, yeah, bring it in. Well, they were like up there, and they were like shopping for themselves. Like, make sure I go home with this one. And, oh, this one's so cute. And, this, that, and the other. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my gosh. And they ended up buying like 83 bras, and I think I walked away with like $305.
Holy cow.
And that was like $2, $3 a piece. Now I can get way more online. I could sell those on eBay for 2, 3 times that easy after fees, I think. But when you have 300 of them and you have like 1,000 pair of men's and women's underwear, I think I can give some of that away to, regain some profit real quick, or, get me out of the hole, my initial investment. And then I took them to work, and I work, like I said, I work in an office full of women. And I brought them in, and they put them on the back table, and they went back there like a Tupperware party or something. I don't know what they were doing. They were just back there giggling and laughing and going on. And they just told me like, oh, I wanted 4 of them. So I sold them like $10 a piece or whatever. I said, just pick whatever you want. Again, I can make more money selling them online, but they save a little money. I save a whole lot of listings and time.
Oh yeah.
And I'm almost got my entire investment back, and I've just sold the bras, and I probably still have 100, 120, 150 of them things.
Oh jeez.
So
with
crazy.
the place that you took it, can you take the underwear to them too? Will they?
Nope.
They won't buy the underwear.
No, I asked, and they said even if it was new in the package, they wouldn't be able to take it. I
Oh,
guess
okay.
bras are different for women.
Yeah.
Again, who buys used shoes, right? So,
right.
and I mean, these aren't used, but no, they wouldn't take them. There's a couple more of these simply. That was my phone. There's a couple more of these Simply Chic places. I took it to another one and left it and went to lunch and came back, and they hadn't even touched it. They were so busy. But I'd be willing to bet if I took it to a couple of their other locations that I would filter out some more of them. But I think I'll hold off and try to sell them, because like they took the Simply Chic place. They took a lot of like the sports bra looking type. I mean, I'm not some kind of bra expert. I'm
Right.
about to be here real soon, but I'm not yet. They took
Right.
all like the what I would think would be cheaper ones. They didn't take a whole lot of the really high dollar 60, 50, $40 ones. So really they did me a pretty big favor,
Yeah.
I think. So, and they were super happy. They were talking about putting a whole new rack over there and filling it up. A rack of
So
racks. It's
are
hilarious.
Plato's closets still around? Is that a thing still?
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe so.
I wonder if they would take any of it, just to,
Good idea.
or
Probably
even
off.
post them on Facebook or something. I don't know. I don't know who would be buying the underwear on Facebook, but I think that's more of an eBay thing. But you never know.
And that's what I'm going to end up doing. That's what the hard part, and why I haven't got them listed yet is, I mean, I walked out of there. It was all in like these huge boxes, and I knew there's no way. I got an Outback, Super Outback I was driving. There's no way I was going to get all these boxes into my car, because they're rigid, they're big rectangle boxes. So I had them all put into like these huge trash bags. I think there was like 8 trash bags, one of those boxes, and like a Walmart type sack full. I mean, it took up the entire car. It was insane. I'm like, what did I just do? I called you pretty much immediately, and I'm like, hey, what did I do?
and you kind of hinted around, like, if you did all the math, you basically spent $500, right?
Like $500-$600, if you want to put sales tax in there and whatever.
So when Jake is telling me about this on the phone, he says that once he starts like loading these shelves in, he actually offered to like not take all of them because
like,
he
what
realized
did I do?
And the guy wouldn't do it at that point, right?
No.
You said they were like, no, you got to take it all or none.
I was like, oh, yeah. And one of the workers walked by and saw us bagging it up, and he goes, what is going on here? And the worker that was helping me, he was super, super cool, and he was funny. He goes, yeah, this guy here bought them all. And the guy's like, why in the world did he buy all that? And he goes, he's just tired of doing laundry. He don't want to wash any underwear. He's just going to wear a pair and throw them out. The guy goes, he's kidding. He's going to sell them online or whatever. I was like, this guy's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how when you resell, you become an expert on stuff. Like you said, you're not a bra expert right now, but you're going to be, because you're going to have to do so much research to figure out like what all this stuff is. I've recently become a Bakugan expert because I keep finding Bakugan at Goodwill. So I'm like, learning about freaking Bakugans and, how to
Big.
identify them. And it's like it's just funny whenever you sell stuff and you come across lots like that, you start to learn and you can actually tell people, yep, mine aren't that big. Mine are small ones.
Mine big. Well, my Bakugans are huge, man. I'm
I got
sorry.
I got some small Bakugans.
I don't even know how this goes back together. I know John, his daughter, my son loves these things. And I would
Yeah.
love to sell this. I got like triangle ones and all kinds of I got one of those
Those are
bags just full of them.
traps.
Oh,
I
see?
did learn that.
Expert. My son, if I don't get these listed and hid, they become his immediately. So
Yeah.
I don't know if he found this one. It was on the couch, so I'm assuming he found it. But yeah, Bakugan. Super cool.
So, just to finish up your underwear story here, so you said you're about 30 cents, right at 30 cents an
30
item.
something. Yeah, something in there. 30, 40 cents, somewhere in there. I can't
And
remember.
have you listed a single one yet at all, or okay,
No,
so
because I've taken them out of the bag, one bag at a time, separated men and women, and then I got all that done, and I have more women than men. Um, so once I got them separated by gender, then I would take a woman bag, I'd bring it in, I'd like pull off the bed sheet. I mean, I don't have to do it like there's. I'm not bending over to the floor. Forget it. I'm too old for that. So I then take them and I sorted them by size because there's size. I think 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think there might be a 12. I don't remember. All those different sizes in women's. So I sorted them all out by size, put them in their own bag by size, and then I took those bags and I pulled them out by size and laid them out by style because there's just like 10 gajillion styles of these stupid things.
right,
So once I got them all by style per bag, I would roll them up or fold them up and rubber band them with I printed off I made these little cards on the printer and printed them off on paper and cut them up with the size, the style name, and the quantity per the bundle.
okay,
And once I've got a couple more of those to do for the women's, just like I just have to find the time to do it, and that's the hard part. And then I'm going to, once they're all bundled up and done, then I'm going to go through and get all the same style, all the different sizes, and then I'm going to do one listing with, like the drop down box, and
hmm
they can choose size 5, 6, 7, 11, whatever I have available. I think I'm going to do them in lots of like 3.
okay.
So just not one at a time. I don't think that would be a smart
So
thing.
even though you don't have anything listed, you've already put in the groundwork of a lot of that to get it listed. So it's not like
Right.
you're ground zero right now. You've got a lot of the work
No.
already done to start the listing.
Sorting out like 13, 1400 items.
Right.
If you want to do it right, that's the way to do it. If I just randomly grabbed 3 and listed it, I mean, I don't have an eBay store, so I only get so many free listings, a month or whatever. So doing it with the drop down, like if I got all the same women's Elance bikini, that's one of them that's in there. If I can find that I've got so many size 5, 6, 7, maybe I don't have any in 8, I've got them in 9, whatever I've got, then I can just do the listing where I can just what do they call that? Listing with variations or something
Yeah.
like whatever they
Yeah,
call it.
it's a variation listing.
Variation listing. I can do a variation listing and I can just let the customer click the drop down box and go like, oh, they really like that. And I can do like all black, all white, or whatever the lot I want it to be, and how many of those I have because I'm like I got a ton. And they can just click the drop down and then quantity. Oh yeah, I'll get the all black. I'll take 3 quantities of that. Get 9 pair or whatever, and I can just do one master listing for that style, and just that way I'm not listing 10 million listings. I can just list
Sure.
one thing and they can choose. And so that's a lot of work just to get all that stuff listed. I had to buy bags because I didn't have enough bags. I have like bubble envelopes and bubble mailers and stuff, but you don't really need bubbles. It's just underwear. It's not gonna break.
Right.
So I bought like 500
Poly bags.
12 by 16 or something for like $37 shipped. Weighs about 200 pounds. It's amazing. But
I just recently started using poly bags. I've never used them. I always just used
they're
bubble
great.
mailers. Yeah. I
If you
picked
don't
up
need
my
the
first
bubbles,
box from, yeah. Excuse me. I picked up my first box from Family Video. They were, one of the things they were selling was those poly bags. I was like, I'll buy them here and see how I like them. I love them. So I definitely got to get more now. So they're great for clothes for sure.
Yeah, not things that, I mean, you're wasting money on a bubble mailer. Those aren't, pennies on the dollar compared.
Right.
So, yeah, I just have to streamline the whole process. I mean, I've got my 4x6 Zebra label printer, which is amazing. And if you resell online, you should just get one or something compatible,
Yeah.
in my opinion. I mean, it
So
just saves you so much time.
So one of our future episodes is definitely going to be, things that we've purchased or started using that made us wonder how the heck we ever did it without it. Because I know like that's one of them. There's a bunch. So we're going to save that for a future episode because there's a lot of stuff that I use now. And I'm like, how the heck did I not use this, before? Like the weird rigging of like how to ship stuff and weird things like that. So we are going to talk about that in a later episode. So moving forward, we're going to have the weekly update is going to have to be the whitey tidy update. So you're going to have to keep us informed of if you think that this was a good buy. I'm sure you're feeling better about it now, knowing that you've already come close to your investment. Because I know at the time you were like, I don't know if I should have done it. So you're probably feeling a little better than you did that first day.
Yeah, and if I ever if I make my money back and then a little more, and I get to that point where I'm like, I'm just tired of dealing with it, hey, donate them or lot them up one huge lot or just, move them along.
Yeah.
Like those digital cameras I bought for Christmas. I got 100 and something of them left, but I made like 3 times my money. So
right,
I can just donate them or, cut my loss, no loss, gain. But
so I'm going to move on to my best find since our last podcast.
all right.
And this involves a couple stories. So the first one was what I thought was going to be my best find was an Xbox HDAV adapter. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these things before. Yeah. I'd never seen one. So a few years ago, I purchased one of the component cables for a GameCube. I got it at a garage sale in Goodwill or a garage sale in Lebanon, and I think I paid like $15 for a bundle, and it was in there. I'd never seen one of those, and at the time, it sold for like $80. So at the Goodwill there in town, I see this like cord. I'm like, what the heck is this thing? So, of course, I look it up because it's a video game, first party video game cord that I've never seen before. That thing's like $75. So instantly, right in the cart, I think I paid $3 or $4 for it. I'm walking around the store and I see another guy in there. He's clearly a reseller as well. And I had picked up some Xbox games and I, checked to see if they were worth anything. And it just wasn't worth my time. So I actually took him to him and I said, hey, where do you sell at? And he's like, I just sell on eBay mostly. And he was looking up Xbox games. It's like, I picked these up and they're just not for me. Like they're not worth my time, but maybe you'll do better with them. So I handed them to him and he thanked me for them. And he asked me if I found anything good. I was like, well, I found this Xbox AV cable. He's like, yeah, that thing's been here for like 2 weeks. So a reseller like that, this is why even if you're flooded with resellers in an area, you can still find good stuff. Because this guy literally knew this had been here for a couple weeks. I had missed it. Like, I just don't always go to the cords, and I go to that Goodwill once or twice every week. So I had missed it. Yeah, you might have missed it too. So he's like, yeah, that's been here for a couple weeks. I was like, did you ever look it up? Because it's like a $75 cable. He's like, you got to be kidding me. It's like, no. He's like, no, I definitely messed that one up. So I bought it. I was super pumped about it. I was telling Amanda, I was like, oh, look at this sweet cord that I got. It's going to make me so much money. Well, we had a brand new dog, and there was a 2-hour delay, which normally we would put him in his cage, and I went to work. And when Amanda was in the shower, he ripped the cord into pieces. I was so mad. Unfortunately, last week he got hit by a car, which that's all I'm going to say about it. But so we no longer have him. But yeah, I was so mad that this $75 cable like got wrecked. So the very next day, or that same day that he chewed it up, I went to the Anson Goodwill, which is where, you know, John, that's where he visits when he goes into work.
Yeah.
I found a Philips Norelco shaver in there that was selling for like $150. So I paid $10 for it, and I was like, this is definitely going to be, you know, the find of the month, because it's, you know, I'm going to make $120 profit. I sold it for $150. That's already gone and sold. So then just when did I texted you? I think it was Monday. So Monday, and I have it here because I haven't sold it yet. I walk into Goodwill. Our Goodwills around central Indiana they almost always function the same. Like, you know, you go to Goodwills in like Michigan, they don't feel like anything like our Goodwills.
Completely
so
different.
all of the Goodwills around Indianapolis feel exactly the same. And what they do is they bring out these big push carts with new inventory. So the inventory comes out on these carts. Then the people that work the floor, they kind of take 1, 2, 3 pieces at a time, and they go and put them on the shelves. Well, anybody that like goes to the Goodwills all the time knows that you need to get to those first. So like I have the ears for it. Like I'll be at the other side of the store and one of those carts come out and I'm booking it over there. And we have a mutual friend, you know, past clients of both of ours that work at this Goodwill. So I'm constantly asking her, like, before I leave, is there any carts coming out soon? Because like I'm thinking about getting in line. So they'll go and check for me. So that day she was working, and whenever I go into Goodwill, that's the first, I go straight to those carts, and then I go and look around the store. So I go in there and I find this.
Cutco,
and this is a Cutco knife block. And a lot of the Goodwills you'll find knife blocks that have just random knives in them.
Or
so
empty.
So I still wasn't even sure if this was like Cutco brand. So I pulled out the first knife, and they're obviously a matching set if you can see them very well. They are Cutco. So I was like super pumped. I was like, we got Cutco knives for our wedding. Amanda's grandma bought them for us, so I know how much these freaking cost. They're ridiculous. Like I told Amanda when we got the knives for our wedding, it's like we should just take those back and like take a trip to freaking Hawaii or something with, you know, the money that you could have from them. So I didn't look these up in the store. I just bought them. I already took the price sticker off, but I paid $5 for this knife block. Jake, I've already had 2 offers on eBay that I've turned down. What do you think I've had offers of?
250.
$350.
Wow.
So I listed them for 500. I countered the 350 offers at 450. And if they would have countered back at 400, I would have taken it. But I just listed these 2 days ago. So I'm pretty confident that I'm going to get more than 350. But at the bare minimum, I'm going to get, you know, I've already had 2 offers at 350. I'm sure that if I were to lower this to 350, it's going to sell. So this is my find of the month. And I believe this sets my record for the most expensive thing that I've ever had. We talked about it last. I don't know if we talked about that after we recorded, but like I've sold like $200 items, but rarely have I sold anything that goes over 200. So yeah, that's my find. And I do want to show you something else because I just think this thing's really cool. Today, I forget how much it was. I had a really good selling day, and I was going to mention this earlier. So today alone, the stuff that has to go out tomorrow, I have 9 orders going out. Those 9 orders sold for $331. So one of the things that just sold, let me pull back up the program here, is this sweet gun. Look at this thing. Now, is that not just the most 90s thing ever? This little thing right here, it's like the magic ink.
Oh,
so like
okay. The
it
disappearing
like
ink.
like squirts out like blue or whatever, and then it disappears. I picked this up at the Goodwill on 86th in Michigan for like 10 or 15 bucks, and this sold for $52 today. And then they had to pay shipping. I just thought this thing was super cool, so I wanted to show that.
That's
the
cool.
Zap It Pulsator.
So someone had it as a kid and wanted it. Like if I could find a string racer, anybody out there listening that has a string racer, please sell it to me. I want to relive those memories with my son.
Is that like one of the things that's kind of like a football shape that you just like throw it?
No, it looks like a submarine with two big wheels on the top, and you put it on. It's on a string.
Okay.
It's got like this hook thing on the bottom, and it picks up these like cage ball looking things. You would put the string like I would put it on either a fence or my swing set when I was a kid or whatever, and you would just walk across like one of those kite string type thing looking things, and you would lift your arm up, and it would go downhill. You'd lower your arm so you would go higher and lower than the point at the other end, and it would swing back. And as it's coming back to you 900 miles an hour, you'd lift your arm up and it'd slow down and go again, kind of like a zip line. I had the most fun with that thing. I probably still have it, but God only knows where it is, or if it's broke, or who knows.
Right.
I remember seeing that on TV and going into Walmart, and they had a whole wall of them. And I'm like, yeah, this is so cool. I think it was green. And I can't find one. I think there's some on eBay new, and they're like $1 million. I'm like, it's plastic, people.
So
I mean, it's not that.
String racer.
Look it up on YouTube, everybody.
So if anybody has a string racer, get in contact with Jake on Instagram and make some money off of him a little bit.
I'll trade you some underwear. It's a good deal.
So I'm selling those Bakugan, and I had this guy, like, he bought 3 Bakugan off of me. So I have a bunch that I haven't even listed. So I said, hey, I don't know if you're looking for specific ones, but I've got a bunch I haven't even listed. So he tells me that he wants Pyrus Bakugan, which are red. They're just the red ones. He's like, I just like the red ones. So I sent him a picture of all the red ones I had, and he liked 2 of them. So I did some research, and of course, those 2 are like the most expensive red ones that I had. One was like selling for like 30 bucks, and one was like 20 bucks. So I told him that I was like, since you already bought 3, I'll sell, a significant discount. I forget what I told him. So he messaged me back, and he's like, I've got a bunch of extra ones that I'd like to trade. This is on eBay. And so I messaged him.
How's not flagged?
I don't know. So I messaged him, and I was like, I'm a reseller, and I'm not interested in trading. I'm just interested in selling. And he's like, so he messaged me again and said, okay, thanks. I'll get you a list of the ones I'm interested in getting rid of. I'm like, I don't think he understands that I just told him I don't want to trade. So he sent me a list. Yeah, he sent me a list. He's like, here, I did some research. It took me a lot longer to research these than I thought. I was like, yeah, no kidding. I've been doing it for the last 3 nights. But I was like, I'm sorry you misunderstood, but I don't want to trade. And I said, eBay won't let me do that anyway. That's not something you can do on eBay is, barter for
if you like to sell there without them flagging you.
Right.
Or closing your account. Jeez.
So I just thought that was weird.
That's funny.
So I don't have this in our outline, Jake, because I kind of thought about this later, but every episode I would like for one of us to give a tip. And I have a tip, and I've kind of already mentioned it. So I'm going to do this episode tip, and you get the next episode.
Oh, boy.
So our tip this week or this month is going to be make friends. And what I mean by that is, like I mentioned, there's a girl that works at the local Goodwill that me and Jake both know. It's very beneficial to have friendly relationships with people that work in the businesses that you go to. I have a couple friends that work at that Goodwill. It's invaluable for them to be able to go check carts. everybody may check carts for you. I don't know if they would or not. Like if you just asked a random person, "Hey, is there a new cart coming out anytime?"
No.
I feel awkward doing that if I don't know the person. Just that relationship alone, for the fact that they'll go and tell me if there's a new cart coming out. Because there's been multiple times where I would have left the store, and there's a brand new full cart that they're just getting ready to bring out, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's one coming out in just a couple minutes." That I bought, something that probably I've made $50 profit just because I waited a couple extra minutes. I also have a contact at our local post office that I've become very friendly with. I actually bought all of them donuts like for Christmas and kind of like bribed them a little bit because I have found that our post office is open from 8 to 4, and it's very hard for me to get there by 4. And because of this friendly relationship that I have now, they've told me that I can knock on the metal, like they close
Back
this big
door.
metal window, that I
Okay.
can knock on it, and they'll come out and get my packages for me up till like 5 o'clock. So the businesses you go to, if you visit them often, make friends. It's
Mhm.
invaluable, and it's not just your Goodwills or, if you go to, I don't know, there's some people out there that have contacts at like Meyer, for instance, or Targets or Walmart that, hey, we're getting ready to put this thing on clearance. That happens all the time. If you can do it, do it. It's very beneficial. So that's my tip for this month. Make friends at your businesses. So Jake, you're gonna have to come up with a tip next podcast.
Oh, great. Make friends with businesses is already taken. Dang.
Yeah, don't do that one.
Okay. I'll see what I can come up with.
So our next little section, we're not going to do. We kind of designated it for questions that people ask, and since this is only our second podcast, and I think I texted you, Jake, like I believe we were like around 25 views
Yeah.
when you figure in the actual listens on the podcast and the YouTube. So still pretty low, but I was pretty impressed with the 25. Hopefully 25 people watched. We did have a comment from Business, which is an old YouTube friend of mine that I should have told the story. Actually, we had a very weird sourcing story. Maybe I'll save that for another time. I'll just say that it involves like mountains of DVDs, and porn may have been related to that, and an old woman. So, Business, if you are watching this podcast and you've made it this far, that may make you chuckle because that was a very weird one. So we're not going to do that this time. But if you do have questions, we do have an Instagram now. It's Brick and Modem Podcast, I think is what it is. I don't know. I'll put it up on the screen or something. It's either Brick and Modem Podcast or Brick and Modem Resale
Super.
Podcast.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. I'll put it up on the screen. I'll put it in the about section. So visit our Instagram, and we do have like 60 followers on there, which is pretty cool. So
Yeah.
that took off more than I expected. But if you have any questions, comment on a post or something and ask your questions there. And I will try to, the days that we know we're going to record, I'll put a post out saying, hey, give us some questions. So if you guys have anything that's reseller related, or even if it's not reseller related and it's appropriate, we'll try to answer those for you. So in conclusion, if you remember from the last episode, we have our buy it now recommendation, which is where each of us will talk about something outside of the world of reselling. And do you have something this month that you wanted to kind of
I don't think
promote?
I talked about it. I know I talked about like what did I talk about, like 3D printers and cool stuff like that as like a side hobby that I have, creating my own things and doing stuff. And I got that laser machine that burns into stuff like wood and stone and all that. A real crucial piece of equipment is for me, since I do it out in my garage and it's winter, is garage heater. I don't think I brought that up last time, but if you have a space that you need to work in that's maybe not air conditioned or heated very well, get you one of them garage heaters. That thing was a couple $100. Had an electrician friend of mine put it in, and that thing is a game changer in the
Really?
garage. Oh my God. When it was like negative whatever out, I was out there blasting that thing, working on a computer on the laser thing, and just, it's great just to hang out in the garage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, summer you can open the garage door and put a fan and get some air movement. But in the wintertime, you don't want to open the door, and a fan doesn't do much but blow around cold air. So, an electric heater hanging from the ceiling, game changer, amazing, best investment ever. And I got to think it adds resale value to the house. It'd have to. You know, if
So
any
Jake's
gearhead wants to come in, get yourself one of those. It's great.
so
Love
Jake's
it.
buy it now recommendation is the garage heater.
Heater, yes, life changer.
So the thing I wanted to mention this time is a video game. Luigi's Mansion on the Nintendo Switch. Have you ever played it, Jake?
No, I haven't played on Switch.
So honestly, it's not the greatest game in the world, but the reason I'm going to recommend it is if you have a child that is very young. My daughter she just turned 5, and we played this game together. And the cool thing about playing on the Switch is the way we did it is I would hold one Joy-Con and she would hold the other. So she's not great at, like anybody. It's hard for new people that are playing video games to be able to move a joystick and like jump or work other buttons at the same time. So this allowed me to teach her how to begin playing video games, and I would move the character, and like Luigi has like a vacuum, so when we'd get to ghosts, I'd be like, hit the A button for the flashlight. So she would like flash the ghost and then work all the vacuum controls. We had a blast. The more we played it, the less that she wanted to do the controls, because the game gets much harder the longer you go. So like a lot of the fights, she would just hand me the controller and I would do them. But she loved exploring the mansion. Like if there was no ghosts running around, she was like, "Yeah, give me that controller." We had a blast, and we did beat it. So it's like the very first game that she's ever beat. So if you have young kids, I highly recommend playing Luigi's Mansion on the Switch. It was great.
Awesome. That is awesome. Good
Yeah.
story, Dad.
Yeah, it was super. And then and I'm the type of person, when I beat a game, I'm done with the game. They were like, Nora, who's she's getting ready to turn 3. She keeps telling Amanda, she's like, Luigi,
Yeah.
scary ghosts, and I'm like, we just beat it. I don't want to play it anymore. Like, but they liked it that much that they wanted to go back and play it. But like any game, the water level, screw that water level. I hate water levels in games. You have to control like a bumper boat in this one. Oh my gosh, it was annoying. I hated it. But overall, the game was really fun.
That's cool.
So Jake, where can our viewers/listeners find you at?
Well, you can find my super awesome YouTube channel that may or may not be embarrassing in some of those videos, because my 5-year-old wants to be a YouTube star and wants me to do unboxings and record it. So as a good, awesome dad that I am, I record them, and sometimes he takes the camera, and I think there's one on there. If you go to it and watch it, please comment on it that, Noah, you did a great job, because I sucked at it. But he would love to have somebody comment on his video, like and subscribe and hit the bell and down below and all those
Does
things.
he say that?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
But he's showing, we're opening all his micro machines, and I'm holding the camera doing very awesome camera work. Not at all. Laying on the floor. And he'd take the camera from me and go, "This is my daddy, and this is his butt." I'm like, "Oh my." And he'd like fart on camera. It's hilarious. It's the longest 40-minute video in my whole career. Anyway, comment on it if you see it. My
What's the
YouTube
YouTube
is
channel?
it's just Jake Kimmer, Kammerer. I'm not original at all. I'm not Retro Rewinder and all this other cool stuff.
Which
I'm
is
just
one of
my
the hardest names to pronounce, by the way.
Well, I guess it's just as hard, isn't it, then? You can find me on eBay if you want to buy some underwear. Look out for that. It's the Game Boy, the.game.boy. That's my eBay username. I'm not on Twitter. Sorry. And Facebook, it's Jake Kimmer. That's me. If you want to see all the fun things I do with my son and some of the side stuff and posts and things, you can find me there. Or Hole in the Wall Games. If you just search that like you're searching for a person, Hole in the Wall Games, you can ask to join there. And we don't do a whole lot of posting on there, but we try to post when new stuff comes in the store and if we're running sales or whatever. You know, we're both full-time employed people with kids and responsibilities, but we try to have fun with it. So that's how you can find me.
I don't remember if I asked you this last episode with the hole in the wall. If somebody sees you post something, do you do any shipping or do you have to buy it? Are you only for local people?
No, if someone wanted it that's not local, they say, hey man, I want that GoldenEye game you got there, and I'm happy to pay for shipping or whatever. You know, yeah, we're down for that. We don't always just have common stuff too. We've had some pretty hefty titles and systems and things in there that quite honestly are difficult to sell locally because people, number one, don't expect to walk into an upscale resale location like where we're at and find, you know, a $200 game or whatever, or they wouldn't expect to see that. So, or they don't even see it. So yeah, we put stuff in there, some common stuff, shelf filler, shovelware, you know, of course everybody's got that, but we do on occasion put some good stuff in there. And yeah, if someone saw something we posted and wants to message one of us, please don't comment a million things. Message one of us, start a dialogue. Yeah, we're not against shipping, not at all.
So basically, on the media or the social media that Jake is on, it's just his first and last name, Jake Kimmer, Kammerer.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, you're most likely watching this. If you're watching it, it's on my YouTube channel, which is Retro Rewinder. I'm pretty much Retro Rewinder on everything. I don't really use Twitter except to repost the Facebook and Instagram stuff that I do. I just kind of use that as another way to get that stuff out there. So, but I am on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And my eBay, I believe, is Retro Rewinder as well. I don't think it's just Retro Rewinder. So if you want to purchase anything from me off Facebook, I think I'm up to like 650 listings right now. So our last episode we talked about goals. I've pretty much stayed consistent with trying to hit that 5. If I don't do 5 a night, I'm doing like 10 one night, and then like I didn't do any tonight. I just did my shipping. So thanks for joining me again tonight, Jake.
Yeah.
And for everybody out there, thanks for watching or listening. Give us a comment on either the YouTube, Instagram. We'd like to hear from you. Let us know if you enjoyed it, if you actually watched it, and we'll talk to you guys next month. See ya.
Bye.